There are times when I think that military action is appropriate, and there are times when I believe we should have taken military action and didn't. So some of you know that I have had a lot of interest in the issue of Rwanda for a number of years and actually studied it. And the U.S. government failed to take military action.
But that occurred before you made the
That's right.
statement
Another example.
Opposing categorically the use of military force in
Well, I think
2003.
in the context, we were talking about a war where you choose to engage in a war. I believe in the situation, for instance, in Rwanda, another example would be in Sudan. These were examples where military action should have occurred to save innocent lives and to protect people. There are also times when military action has been appropriate since that time. I believe that when Syria crossed a red line and used chemical weapons against their own people, that would have been an appropriate time. And
put out a statement to that effect?
we talked, when I was in Congress during that time and spent a lot of time
Did you make any public comments on Syria, any action that we should have taken?
I did make public comments about how the Syrians had crossed the red line that President Obama spoke about, and was concerned that after President Obama said, if you cross this red line, we'll do something, and then didn't.
All three of those examples are humanitarian interventions.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any example of where military force was used to protect American national security interests that you support?
I would say that
In retrospect.
Yeah, during George H.W. Bush's war in the early 90s, that was it was fast, but it was an appropriate action, and it.
But again, that's before you made the categorical statement in 2003.
Well, the categorical statement I made in 2003 was about the process of going into war at that time, which I felt like was not warranted and was not based on appropriate information.
All uses of U.S. military force in the interview with Hancock.
Well, I do approve of the use of military force when appropriate. And my votes during my entire time in the United States Congress have absolutely supported that. I have consistently supported increased funding for our military, consistently supported ensuring that we are fully funding folks, not just in overseas efforts, but also in ensuring that our allies are safe and secure. So continuing to increase funding for our ally Israel, making sure that we have the funding we need to protect our troops both at home and abroad, and on more domestic policy, ensuring that we have appropriate funding to keep our borders safe and secure from those who might want to enter the country and do harm to us there.
What about the war in Afghanistan? Was it an appropriate use of U.S. military force?
My concerns about the war in Afghanistan was that I was not convinced that after interaction that we would see a difference in Afghanistan. We are still facing significant challenges with leadership in Afghanistan.
This wasn't about the future of Afghanistan. This was about the future of America. The Taliban had harbored al-Qaeda, allowed them to train and ready and plan to then come fly into the Twin Towers and Pentagon and the deaths in Pennsylvania. This is never about turning Afghanistan into a 21st century modern democracy. The mission was about ensuring that we didn't have failed states that were safe havens for terrorist entities to be able to train and grow and then attack America or our interests. So, that has to be very clear when we're making these types of decisions. And just one other quick point is, when you were handing out flyers in these multiple protests that you had at the time, Kyrsten, in one of them where you were the lead, like you were many times, you depicted our troops as skeletons and said, "Stop the U.S. terror in the Middle East." Again, this is another CNN story that was broken about this. And so when you talk about can you separate protesting military action from denigrating our troops, in that case, they were one and the same. The flyer for her protest, I don't remember if that was the pink tutu one or not, was depicting our troops as skeletons and saying we were the terrorists. Like, I'm not making any of this up, and I think it's really important for the voters to know the full history of both of our lives and what we have done with our lives, what we have led on, what we've put our passion into. And this is many years, Kyrsten, that you were out of the mainstream, protesting, advocating to shut down Luke, this entire pattern over many, many years.